So, you want to become the best gunner in Deep Rock Galactic? Well, you've come to the right place. Here's the build. Roll the clips.
Yeah, you heard that? The mic difference? Hey, you want to hear some more? Oh, then just jump on the Twitch link right here in the description for some epic content. Now, moving to the build and the video. For the minigun, row number 1, you will go for the first perk. You will need that cooling absolutely because of the overclock, which makes you overheat faster. You will need that perk so that the cooldown is lower and essentially you will be shooting faster. Second row, you will go for more ammo. The damage isn't really necessary in this build since the elemental damage and the base damage already does the work, so more ammo will help you out be better at higher hazard. Third row, go for blow through. This is essential. It'll help you out to burn multiple targets at the same time and be more efficient against waves. You can just blow through the enemies and that'll help more than the stun or the armor shred, essentially. Row number 4, the charge up. I hit the mic. Row number 4, go for the charge spin up decrease. This helps out greatly. It's just quality of life, and if you already play with this perk, you already know that it's insane. It's really helpful and you'll spend less time winding up your gun to basically deal damage and annihilate the enemies. More damage here, once again, isn't really necessary, and keeping the barrel spinning is not really what you want. When it's high on red, you kind of want to lower it as fast as you can, or just keep an eye on the red bar to keep the gauge at your level and not keep it too long in red, otherwise you'll kind of be stuck in that part. So go for the spin up, it'll be better. And last row, this is where it gets interesting. You take number 3. The fire here on this perk allows you to literally spit out fire out of every bullet when you go into red mode. This means that all of your gun becomes fire bullets, basically. So you'll be able to ignite enemies from any range as long as you're in that red portion. Now, this pairs really well with your overclock, which lets you have essentially a flamethrower 5 meters in front of your gun. This will allow you to burn everything that's in front of you, regardless of your portion of gauge that you already fired, red, green, or yellow. This is going to be useful to deal a lot of damage on short range. You basically have an increased amount of damage the closer you are to the target, and as soon as you hit red gauge, you can also do that amount of damage further away. This is where the build pairs really well with the Bulldog. The build isn't too fancy, something really classic. On the first row, we take accuracy. You really want to be as accurate as possible with this gun since it has a little bit of bloom installed into it already, and not having that will basically make you miss a lot of shots. Second row, I go for damage. You want to go as maximum damage as you can, because even with taking full damage, you still have the lowest amount of raw damage of any build you could build on this gun, but this is not where it ends. Row number 3, you want to go for hollow point bullet. So aim for weak spots, do more damage, you know the deal, more damage. Fourth row, you know, go for, you guessed it, more damage. You don't essentially need the ammo. The more you play with this build, the more you learn how not to use all the ammo at once and utilize all of them. It is fine to just go damage and not ammo on this row. And last row, as I said for the first row, I go also for increased accuracy to just be more efficient at long range, because this is mostly where you'll be using the gun. You could go for neurotoxin to deal more damage over time for a certain amount of enemies, but we'll come to that later. And for the overclock, volatile bullets. You guys might have seen this coming, but yeah, it is huge. If your target is on fire, it'll take something like triple damage. It is really huge, and the damage, as you said in the intro, also is huge. This pairs out with the flame build that we took on the minigun prior, and just utilizes all the damage that we have been building for. On perks, I always take Quick Resupplier and Elemental Insulation. They're just too good not to take. The resupply has 3 lines of dialogue when you pick the perk. That's enough for me to pick it. It has 3 things that it does. It's just way better than anything else. And the Elemental Insulation is 30% less damage from any elemental source. It's also too good not to pick up for any dwarf, especially Gunner, which has less mobility, thus being better if he is more tanky. For the third passive perk, I still use Born Ready, because it only works on the Bulldog. The minigun doesn't benefit from it, but when it procs, it's part of the gameplay. What you want to be doing is shooting your minigun until it goes red, set enemies on fire, use volatile bullets with the Bulldog, shoot the 4 shots, go back to the minigun which had time to cool down, continue shooting, and when you want to go back to your Bulldog, it's already reloaded. It's really a good synergy and helps out immensely. I use it all the time and I would recommend you doing the same. For my active perks, it depends on if I play solo or multiplayer and which team I'm playing with. If I go with randoms on multiplayer, I'll just pick whatever I take all the time, which is Dash, Iron Will. Both work so good on Gunner, and I always pick Iron Will regardless, because I never know if somebody has it in the team, and I would recommend having at least one dwarf have it. So since I don't know, I'm always picking it myself, using it at the very end of the mission when everyone is down. And if nobody goes down, then it's fine to end the mission with still Iron Will up. That means you're getting better. But that's how I would use it all the time on a random. Otherwise, on solo, I would go Dash, Hover Boots. With Gunner, it saves you so many times, and you have 3 guaranteed reses if you choose to, or 2, or 4, with Bosco available. So going for Hover Boots instead of Iron Will is actually a really good option and helps out immensely when you fall from that one zipline. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And for the grenade, you guys might have guessed already, but I went for the Incendiary Grenade. It is huge when you don't have time to wind up your gun or deal any sort of fire damage, so just throw that in and then go to your Bulldog and deal instant massive damage. It is really helpful. Or just to clear out waves when you're in or outside of your shield. It just really helps out to clear well without doing too much team damage compared to the 2 other grenades, and much more reliable. Also, it's damage over time and it can help out with your volatile bullets once again. Now let's talk about the pros and the cons of this build. The major advantage why I prefer this build, and I think is insane, is because it has AoE on a minigun build. I didn't really like the minigun because it didn't have any sort of way to deal with swarmers. It just was too precise or had too many issues against swarmers or little enemies. With this one, with the Burning Hell Overclock, you don't even have to aim, just run around like a driller and have this AoE against swarmers that is really efficient. Otherwise, with all the other overclocks, you would always get hit once or twice and it wasn't really reliable, even with the pickaxe. So this is massive for this build, for me at least. For the second pro argument, it is really ammo efficient. The elemental damage that it does on 5-meter range, then on longer range, on red bar, is huge and is really great sustained damage that saves up a lot of ammo in the end. So this build pairs super well with Flame Driller if he's not going cryo. You can just use his flames to do more elemental damage with your volatile bullets on the Bulldog. It'll be more efficient and more reliable. Everyone just doing fire everywhere. It is great. This leads me to my third pro argument for this. It works super well on Glacial Strata. If you have a mission on Glacial Strata, just know that every enemy has a minus 30% resistance to fire. So going for a Gunner fire build on Glacial Strata with this one is huge. You'll be dealing even more damage because the volatile bullet damage is actually elemental and not raw, so that's even more. And now for the cons. Of course, this build isn't perfect. It isn't great against Dreadnoughts at all because they're resistant to fire. So you won't be able to set the Dreadnought on fire, thus missing a lot of damage on volatile bullet on the Bulldog, and also dealing way less at close range, max range when your bullet go on fire. So that's a bit of a letdown. If you go on an elimination mission, I wouldn't recommend picking this build. It's not very efficient. Con number 2, it overheats really fast. Since it doesn't have Cold as the Grave, you really need to keep an eye on your red gauge. Indeed, it goes up super fast, so do keep an eye on that. But as we took on the first row, it does go down really fast as well. And last con, we already talked about this a little, but it does not one-shot web splitters. I know how useful this is. You just want to pull out your Bulldog, shoot web splitters once, and then just see them die right after. It is really helpful, but it's missing a little bit of damage to do it, except if you go for the neurotoxin upgrade, as we talked earlier. That's also another thing that really isn't great with this build. But otherwise, that's about it. Alright, I think that's about it for this build. Go try it out for yourself, and don't forget to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section. Do leave a like also if you liked it. And catch you later on Twitch or on my next YouTube video. See you later. Bye.